A man is dead, and the first thing a U.S. Congresswoman said is that the Democrats did it.
Democrats own what happened today.
Are you serious?
Even though just 3 months before this, 2 actual Democrats got shot and 1 killed. Of course, Donald Trump and the Justice Department say the radical left did it, and also they threatened to deport legal immigrants if they mock Charlie, which just another day of having somebody's crazy grandpa with the nuclear codes, nothing to see here. And Russia even says, well, it's because you guys support Ukraine.
Are you serious?
You see how all at once everyone just pointed a finger, and how one party points at the other party as assassins? Alright, most voters, no matter who they vote for, are not killers, right? Most voters are just your mom and your dad, even your crazy uncle. Mainly what I'm going to talk about today is not if this guy was giving some kind of signal, but how important it is to remember how politicians will use someone's actual murder for their own gain. Now, me personally, I just don't think anyone should ever mix politics and religion like Charlie did. You can either be a preacher or you can be political, but you can't be both, because when you're political, you can be bought. And preaching religion while also promoting a political agenda is pretty blasphemous. I mean, Jesus wasn't helping the Roman governor with his re-election campaign, you get what I'm saying? So that right there puts his death in the middle of the how can this benefit me sphere of politics, which is a pretty dark place to be. And as bad as the wealthy people in power who probably didn't even care about Charlie Kirk want you to think it's political, it's only political in the sense that it's going to be used for their political gain. Just like George Bush used a Saudi Arabian guy with Pakistani allies attacking New York as an excuse to invade 2 countries that neither of which contain the people that attacked us.
A wholly unjustified and brutal invasion of of Ukraine.
Now, like I made clear in all my videos, I don't support either party. Every 4 years is just a contest between who can lie to us the best. But Donald Trump once again just speaks without thinking instead of just being a good liar.
To the attacks on ICE agents, to the vicious murder of a healthcare executive in the streets of New York, to the shooting of House Majority Leader Steve Scalise and 3 others.
Radical left political violence has hurt too many.
This man brought up Luigi, but accidentally left out the actual Democrats who got shot in June 2025 to paint this whole event in his party's favor. The woman who died was a U.S. representative and the man was a member of Senate. Anyway, I did a little digging into Charlie, and he's from the Chicago suburbs, and of course, it didn't take me long to find some funny money business. Now, being an expert on Illinois, having lived there my entire life, this was not a surprise to me. And unfortunately, I found that Charlie made himself a very rich man while advocating for Donald Trump and the Republicans, including investments from an Illinois governor, which, if you know Illinois politics, that's never a good sign, and the guy who funded Turning Point USA, the charity group that Charlie Kirk founded that would eventually make him rich, actually used the donations to the group to pay himself, including nearly $250,000 to a print shop he owned, $25,000 to an office space he was renting, and $200,000 just as his personal income. And it seems that this group, whose entire goal it seems just became to advocate votes for the Republican Party, quickly turned into kind of a money laundering scheme. Kinda. And using politics to get rich, say it ain't so. Obviously everyone does this, but it would be less distasteful if he was just like a lobbyist or something, instead of a guy that has debates involving Christianity. And his views seem to change a lot, which supports what I said what happens when you involve yourself in politics, as it can start to seem as though your views can be bought. In July 2016, he said he wasn't the biggest Donald Trump fan and that Donald Trump running for president essentially made his job harder. Fast forward 3 months to October of that year, and he was doing events with the Trump family. In 2018, he said that the church and state should be separate and that everyone should just respect that. Fast forward to 2022, when Christian nationalism was on the rise after Donald Trump lost the 2020 election, he said that the separation of church and state was a lie. He's also a supporter of the Great Replacement theory in the United States, which is the theory that white people are going to be replaced by non-whites, and Charlie himself blamed this on the illegal immigrants, which, even if you include both legal and illegal immigrants in the United States, there are still nearly 150 million more white people. The populations of Mexico and Venezuela combined doesn't even equal the number of white Americans in the US right now. In other words, if the entire countries of Mexico and Venezuela just barged into the United States, they would still be outnumbered just by one race of people alone. So like many politicians, Charlie just counted on the fact that Americans are horrible at math in order to scare them into supporting something. And none of this is Christianity. All of this is a problem. And here's a friendly reminder that Donald Trump once said that no one has done more for Christianity than him.
You know, nobody has done more for Christianity. Nobody has done more for religion of all type than me.
Which, in case you don't realize, he just recycles the same phrase. No one has done more for insert topic here. Let me demonstrate.
Nobody has better toys than I do.
Nobody builds walls better than me.
There's nobody more pro-Israel than I am. Nobody has done more for the black community than me since at least Abraham Lincoln.
Alright, so when I first discovered Charlie Kirk, it was a video of him debating the idea of transgenders with college kids, and I had no idea that he was even involved in politics. I just thought he was like a preacher or something at first. The Republicans count on the fact that a lot of their voter base are Christians, which ends up alienating non-Christians because most politicians simply are ignorant and will exploit whatever you believe in. But this voter base of Christians are both educated and uneducated, and both parties use their influence to their advantage. And this is why I said at the beginning that Jesus was not advocating to help the Roman governor get elected, but let me expand on that. Forget religion for a second, okay? And let's just have a talk about historical facts. Obviously, Roman governors were appointed rather than being elected by the local population, and Jesus, historically, no matter what you believe, was recorded by the Romans to be a very popular and influential guy leading up to his death. Pontius Pilate was the Roman governor of Judea, or Israel, where Jesus' story takes place, and he was already in his position before Jesus was arrested. So, if he wanted to take a political stance, Jesus could have just had his supporters draft a petition and have it sent to the emperor to commend Pilate for his great work as governor and recommend that he keep his position for a few more years because he was going to make Judea great again, and he would have been a great ally for sure. As a Roman, Pilate wouldn't have cared about any religious talk from Jews or Christians, as neither were from his own religion. Like most Romans, he would have just considered these guys to be strange people in the desert following a strange religion, so he could have been swayed by either side, since he probably just wanted his tenure in office to be smooth enough not to piss off the emperor in Rome. But had they become allies, Pilate might have asked Jesus and his followers to promote the Roman agenda, and that's probably why no such thing ever happened. Point being, I just don't appreciate when someone with a political agenda uses religion to gain support. And I would say the same thing if some politician was using Buddhism to gain support in politics, or some politician using Islam or Hinduism. Taking advantage of the people that follow these religions just so they can make money is despicable. All of Charlie's political views would be pretty standard Republican stuff if he had just left religion out of it. These people count on the fact that older people, which are mostly voters, get easily swayed by people like Charlie. I've met people in their 60s that thought all Israelis were Christian. I've met people of all ages that thought Muslim was a race of people rather than just a word to describe people that follow a certain religion. That would be like me using my channel, preaching, and then telling you who to vote for. Like I said, they're all liars. Donald Trump won recently because he was the best liar. Joe Biden won before him because Donald Trump's lies started to show at the end of his first presidency. Barack Obama won for the same reason an attractive, charismatic person will have more followers than someone who is the opposite, because he had the look and the mannerisms to make you forget that he launched the most drone strikes of any president ever. George Bush got elected because he seemed like a better option than Bill Clinton after Clinton got caught up, and then he got re-elected because he preyed on the fact that he could convince Americans that everyone in the Middle East was a violent criminal. It's really not rocket science. Politicians have the most freedom when everyone is distracted or fighting. I mean, it's really no coincidence that we got our only 3-term president in the middle of a world war. But what people may not know is that while all of this was happening with Charlie, Poland shot down Russian drones, Israel killed 108 people across 2 countries, one of which, Yemen, most Americans are probably not even familiar with. The UK ambassador to the United States got fired because he had a relationship with Jeffrey Epstein, and the former president of Brazil just got sentenced to 27 years for doing the exact thing Donald Trump was accused of in 2022. Charlie's body was carried by the vice president aboard Air Force Two. I have never seen a combat veteran or a fallen police officer or firefighter given the same honor. Make no mistake, Charlie's death is being used for a political stunt, and the people in government couldn't care less. This is no different than a record label profiting from an artist once their streams and album sales skyrocket after death. When a firefighter that stormed into the World Trade Center to save lives passes away in a hospital in New York, will J.D. Vance carry his casket aboard Air Force Two?